Good morning, everybody. Welcome. So let's start with the meditation so we're all on the same page. Take a deep breath and bring your attention inside, just below your belly button. And say into that space, I am in perfect union. And feel that expand. When you're ready, drop your attention down to the tip of your tailbone. Breathe into that space. I am in perfect union. And try dropping your attention into the space between the breaths. When you're ready, drop your attention into the ground beneath you. I am in perfect union. When you're ready, take your attention up to your solar plexus, just below your rib cage. Breathe into that energy center. I am in perfect union. Breathe into your heart center in the middle of your chest. Gently allow your attention to rise up to your throat center. Breathe into that space. I am in perfect union. Bring your attention to your third eye behind and between your eyebrows. Breathe into that center. I am in perfect union. Take your attention to the top of your head. Breathe into that space. Feel it expand. I am in perfect union. Take your attention to the top of your aura. Breathe into that space. It's the top of your halo. If your hands were to touch in a circle above your head, that's the spot. Breathe into that space. I am in perfect union. Now gently begin to circulate your awareness and attention from the top of your aura down to the ground and back up again with your breath. I am in perfect union. And you go whatever speed your breath is. As you're ready, bring your attention back. So we want to say a few words about ecstatic experience that we were talking about last week. And what we want you to know is that Rebecca got it a little bit wrong. And ecstatic experience is your birthright to be cultivated and lived from. So it's not a passing experience. It can come to stay, and you can absorb that into your very being, so it becomes part of your awareness no matter what. So ecstatic experience is worth cultivating and likely the ground of our being in fifth dimensional reality. How may we serve this morning? We're so happy to be here with you. Everybody looks so beautiful this morning. How may we serve?
I have a question from last week.
Okay.
Is it negative to feel gratitude when I realize I don't have a problem I hear someone else has?
So this is a question from last week. Is it negative to feel gratitude when I hear about a problem someone else has and I don't have it? This is punishment you don't need to do to yourself. We can be grateful for the problems we don't have. There's nothing wrong with that. We can send a little bit of good wish toward the person who does have the problem. And that might make you feel a little bit more balanced about being grateful for not having it yourself. You know, there's necessary pain in our lives that we can't avoid. But there's a lot of unnecessary pain that we kind of do to ourselves with our minds, with things like this, where we judge ourselves as being wrong for our feelings. And understand that all feelings, every wave of feeling that comes through us is generally coming to pass. And a lot of it, we don't even have to engage. And if we cultivate ourselves in a witness state and allow these feelings to arise and just say, oh, that's interesting. And then see if it's really yours. Like, just watch. And if it's something we have to engage, then there's nothing we can do about it. We're engaged. And then whatever is appropriate with that engagement will gradually show itself to us. But many, many, many waves of feeling come through us that have nothing to do with us. They could have to do with the astrology. They could have to do with the person next to you. They could have to do with somebody you're connected to. They could have to do with just something passing through. You know, maybe a chemical that you brushed up against. And so a lot of what comes through us doesn't require our engagement. We can just watch it pass. Because if it does require our engagement, we won't be able to escape it. We will have to engage it. And we will naturally do it because it's ours. Thank you for that question. It's really helpful. We all have these unnecessary pains we inflict on ourselves. How may we serve further? You know, we love to talk to you directly because we can engage more efficiently, energetically with you individually if you ask your questions in a way that we can see you. So we're just going to say that to encourage you to participate in a different way if you feel up for it. Mhm.
Back to the ecstatic concept.
Yes.
How do we cultivate ecstatic experience?
Well, really, let's talk about it as joy. Because, you know, ecstatic experience is joy. And you can start with any of the four: love, peace, joy, and gratitude. And very often gratitude is the easiest one to find. It just depends on your own makeup, which one of those is the easiest and what's happening in your life. There'll be periods where love is much easier and gratitude is harder. And so you start with any of those four because they're really pointing to where we want to be. So you can start by thinking of three things you're grateful for. And you think of this and you feel it in your heart. Just do that right now and see if that doesn't change your feeling a little bit. Just think about three things you're grateful for and hold your focus in your heart center. And feel what happens to your state. Now take whichever one of those things is the strongest and pay attention to it. Allow it to expand and see if you can take it to joy. And now, as you start to feel that good feeling, begin to circulate that from wherever you feel it throughout your body, all the way down to the dirt and all the way up to the top of your aura. So we're going from the earth to the sky inside ourselves with this good feeling. Let's take a minute and do that. Now, if you notice that there's anything that keeps taking your attention or that's holding you from going toward the good feelings, that's what needs Ho'oponopono. So you welcome that. That is something that has come to be resolved into the harmony of this love, peace, joy, and gratitude so that you can experience it more fully. So these things don't come to keep you away from that experience. They come to allow you to expand yourself deeper and more fully into that experience by resolving these deep, we'll call them tensions, or these deep frequencies of discontent come forward to be resolved into harmony so that we can expand our good feeling even more. So when these things show up, it's a good idea to welcome them because they're the next stage of your evolution in this moment. And so they're a gift from our inner to be resolved into a higher, bigger, more generous toward ourselves feeling, which will turn into joy, which will bubble up as ecstatic fullness. And so this is how we get from here to there. We hope that answers your question. We welcome more. So great to be here. Yes.
So yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I've been really drawn to the winter solstice, which is tomorrow, and wondering if you have any suggestions for best celebrating it.
Well, of course, because Oregon is sort of on lockdown right now, uh, a lot of us will be celebrating it in small pods or by ourselves. So, in that context, the first celebration, of course, is inner. And the solstice is the beginning of the new year. So, this is a really, really important time to be deeply within ourselves. And at this particular moment, the astrology is very, very intense. So it's a good idea to be a little bit quiet. And if you can, avoid any kind of conflict within and around you. And it's a very important time to be conscious of making choices that are in your own personal and in the human collective highest best. This is probably one of the most important times in the coming week or so to be very conscious of your decisions and make your choices from the highest place possible. So it's a time to celebrate that we have come through this year, whatever difficulties we've had, and we've all had some people a lot more than others. So we can be grateful that we're here for this solstice. And commit ourselves very deeply. Intention is really important. And the solstice is a new beginning. And so, how we set our intention for a new beginning is really, really important. This is the perfect question the day before the solstice. Because it's important to take some time tomorrow and set your intentions for the year. Now, our preference for intention is to become more and more in complete union with the highest, that is our own source and the source of the all that is. Because in that union, our life purpose reveals itself. And so the only one thing we have to do is cultivate that union, and everything else will begin to explain itself. So we can keep it really simple and just make one commitment to spend some time cultivating that union every day that it's possible for us to do it. And how intensely we cultivate that union has everything to do with how the quality of our life experience will change. And each of us has different work in this respect, and time is irrelevant, completely irrelevant. And we will guarantee that at a certain point in doing this work, there will be repeated experiences of happiness that will turn into joy, that will turn into ecstasy. There will also be the opposite. That's just life. But when we engage all of it with the intention to move it all to the highest, then it's very clear what to do in every moment. So we love this question, and to take your attention inside and make a commitment to yourself for the next year creates a foundation that really will serve you. This is a beautiful question, and we're totally, totally grateful for it. Thank you. How may we serve further?
Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning, Drew. How
And
are
I'd
you
like
this
to,
morning?
good, thank you. I'd like to say thank you to you and the Annassa for this time. And my question is, I was meditating and thinking on angelic presence, and the thought came to my mind about something about the seventh dimension. And my question is it important to have thoughts about that, or to look into that, or is that just a fleeting glimpse of mind being mind?
Well, what dimension we are responding to in ourselves as we expand into the unseen is not really important. When it's important to know that, we'll know it. But at this point, any access into the unseen is pure gift. And because our minds are linear, third dimensional expressions, really, our mind is the filter through which our energetic being expresses itself. And so it automatically reduces the language to third dimension because that's all it knows. And so what it will do is magnetize our attention to some naming and reducing filter that pulls us back into third dimensional reality. So whenever that happens, you can just allow it to pass. That doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with it, but understanding that that's what's happening is really helpful when your mind starts to grab onto these ideas when you're in an expanded state. Because you, as much as you can, want to just witness your mind and not attach anything to it. So if you know that it's just filtering the information and attaching labels to it, then you can sort of watch it do that without engaging it. But it's important to ask the question so that you know to do that. So, bravo. Good question.
Thank you.
Thank you. And one thing we've noticed is that, you know, any question that you ask, usually 4 or 5 other people are having the same question or some version of it. So it's actually great service to all of us to ask the questions. How may we serve further? We love it. Everybody's so radiant today. It's just beautiful. We'll say something else about this period. We celebrate everything, every holiday, every opportunity to celebrate our being here. Usually we celebrate with food. And if we're lucky, we have loved ones to celebrate with us. It's a time where not everybody can do that. So we give thanks for everything we have to be grateful, and we extend our good feeling out to everyone, every sentient being. And this time we can really feel the necessity of doing that because there are a lot of people who are hurting at this time. But there's no time where that's not a good thing to do, to expand our good feeling and then send it out to everyone. And this takes conscious effort. You know, it's very easy to expand bad feeling and send it out to everyone. That's what most people do. Every reaction they have and every, you know, every sense of blame and shame and all the darkness. But to celebrate every opportunity and openly overflow with that celebration, to offer that into the unseen to anyone who might want to resonate with that feeling, you know you're only doing good. And what higher purpose could there be in life than expanding your good feeling and sending it out to all? And this is fifth dimensional experience, expanding love, peace, joy, and gratitude into that which is beyond and sharing it with the whole. And whenever we can't do that, those are the moments that we sit down, we invite whatever is present, whatever darkness in us, to be seen. We welcome it. All parts are welcome. And then we do Ho'oponopono and we drag it into the fifth dimension until we again are feeling this flow within ourselves and opening to the whole. Is it okay if we say your name? Suzanne, go ahead and unmute yourself.
I'd like you to expand on how we take this good feeling and send it out.
May all beings be happy. May all beings be free. May all beings be liberated. May all beings feel joy. We can make it into a prayer because this is what it is. It's a prayer for the expansion and the beauty and the good feeling for the whole. That's what elevates us and everybody else. So we first take ourselves there and then we offer it to the whole. This is the true meaning of offering. And you know, in most religions, offering is something that you give of material thing, and then you feel like you've done your thing. Well, really, to magnetize the whole, to move into the fifth dimension, we have to offer ourselves. And the way we offer ourselves is with this good feeling, by expanding the good feeling through ourselves and offering it to the whole. This is how we move from here to there, both inside ourselves and outside ourselves. And this will magnetize other people to us to begin to do the same thing. Because once people see you feeling good, they want to know your secret. Really, people recognize the radiance that's coming out of every single one of you today. People see that and they want to participate.
Thank you.
Yes.
That
And as people want to participate, the best thing to know is that you have to wait for them to ask. You can't anticipate, because they might glaze over and back away because they don't know that you're answering the question that hasn't yet quite arisen. So wait for them to ask. Go ahead.
Well, I live in a building with many, many elderly people, and many of them are not coming out of their rooms. And I'm just so aware of, wishing I could share something, but this has been very helpful. Thank you.
You can share, and sharing in the unseen is possibly more powerful than sharing in the seen.
Hmm.
There's a lot of power to sharing and expanding the good feeling in the unseen.
Thank you. I've never heard that before. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. It's hard to imagine that just, sitting in a cave in the wilderness could change the world. We can sit in our own little caves in the urban environment and do same. We don't have to go anywhere else, do anything else, except sit down, expand that good feeling, and offer it to the whole. This is the true meaning of offering. And the true meaning of sacrifice is sacrificing the bad feelings that come up in us into the fire of the Ho'oponopono so that they burn up, and the steam that is released is the good feeling that we offer to the whole. This is the essence of spiritual practice. How may we serve further?
Can I help another person clear energy that isn't theirs or doesn't belong to them without them participating in the process?
Well, the short answer is yes. The longer answer is that in the short term, they will feel better, but this doesn't really serve the other person in the long term, because the way we'll say it is this: we rise by that which we fall, which means when we do our own work, we learn and we evolve. When we do other people's work, they neither learn or can sustain any evolution that happens as a result of our work for them, because they haven't done it themselves. So they haven't had that growing experience. They haven't actually done the evolution for themselves to make that experience a part of themselves. So yes, we can help other people in that way, but do we want to? And this is a very conscious decision, because people learn from their own experience. And so there's a bit of a tough love thing that we have as we look at this in other people. And so this is discrimination. There are times when it's definitely appropriate to help somebody out energetically, especially if they can't get their own feet on the ground and get any traction in the very beginning. And then there are definitely times where they absolutely must do their own work. And they must have the opportunity to feel whatever it is they have to feel to motivate them to do that work. So the answer is yes, but be careful with the discrimination part. And also, it costs you something to do it. But that's not the reason not to. The reason not to is that it's, in the long run, it's not that helpful to them or you. You just make them dependent on you. And that's really not helpful to either one of you to cultivate that kind of relationship. Unless it's a child that is dependent on you, and then it's a whole different thing. Because then you're involved in teaching them everything about love and how to love themselves and how to be in the world. And so that's all different. But in general, it's best for people to do their own work. How may we serve further? We'll say this about ecstatic feeling, that very often as you get in the flow of feeling that, you will encounter this, it's like a bubbling stream that comes up the central channel that just bubbles up and overflows. And that's joy. And when you get that going, try keeping it going. And you can use your breath to keep it going. With the circulation that we talked about in this morning's meditation, you can circulate the joy in that way, and it will just grow. And it becomes a very visceral experience. And when that happens, you don't have to even think about sharing it. It just happens. How may we serve further?
Good morning. It's Margaret.
Good morning, Margaret. So happy to see you and hear your voice.
So nice to see you always. Thank you so much.
You are
I have
so welcome.
I have a question about karma, which has always been a little confusing to me, just in general. But the question that I have is um, the completion of relationships. You say that, people come in and out of your life for different lessons or reasons. And when you feel complete, I'm saying like me personally, and this person's energy keeps coming into your field, or how best would you recommend saying goodbye to that? I know that many different teachers recommend different things, whether it be, not necessarily cutting a cord, doing it as gently as possible, but is it possible for a person to feel complete and say goodbye and release that? And what does it mean if that still keeps coming back? That there's an unfinished lesson or
Well, of course, the obvious thing is that it means that the other person isn't finished yet. And so when that energy arises and you're sure it's not arising from your lack of completion, that you know you're complete,
correct.
then when that energy comes in, you can just say, thank you, but no. Simple. And you don't cut anything. You don't
Right.
need to cut anything, because cutting is fracturing, and that never is a good thing.
Right.
Because, relationships transform over time. So you're complete in a certain aspect of that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So in that aspect, you feel that energy coming in, expecting to engage with that aspect, which is already complete in you. And you just honestly say, thank you, no. Or no,
Okay.
thank you. Whichever order is totally fine. And you
As many
don't,
times as it takes.
yeah, and there's nothing hard about it. You're very easy with it.
Okay.
It's a little bit like wringing the water out of a sponge. You just compress it a little bit. No, thank you. And just let it go. But if you engage it and you like do some kind of tug of war with it, that's not completion.
Okay.
So that means you're not complete yet. So do you want us to talk a little bit more about karma?
Yes, please.
So karma, the reason it gets confusing is because karma involves more than just this lifetime. And so we can experience the feeling of a karmic connection, when we meet somebody we've never seen before, and suddenly there's like, wow, there's a karmic connection. It's like you've always known each other.
Right.
So there's that. And so that just means that we're alert. It doesn't mean that they're the love of our life, or that, we don't know what it means. We just know that there's intensity there, right? And when that happens, we always want to attribute that whatever it is we're looking for in the moment, that person represents that. Be careful. We've all spent years chasing down relationships that had that feeling that the intensity is intensity. And what the relationship actually means or has come to deliver will reveal itself over time. So you can acknowledge the intensity and wait to see what it means. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
And from that perspective, it makes it a lot simpler, because almost always when we have intense experiences that make us want to act immediately in a sort of, we can feel that it's not really conscious, it's just got this compulsion to it. We must do this thing right now. Well, just look at your life, and we're not speaking just to you personally, Margaret, but to everybody. Look at your life at the times that you felt that kind of compulsion and where that took you. And in looking at that, then you can see the value in just reeling yourself in a little bit, getting into a witness state and watching to see what's real before you act. This is difficult. This is what we call maturity. It takes time to develop the capacity to do this, but it's worth it, because, you know, we can have a much more conscious evolution of our life if we're just more gentle with ourselves about engaging very strong energies, which we all run into. Witness, witness, witness. This is maybe our theme today. That we get a lot more room to make conscious decisions in our life if we cultivate the witness state. And this is true for anything that we feel a strong reaction and a strong compulsion to act in the moment. And so it's a good idea to just stand back when we have those. Very often, what we think is urgent is just the depth of our desire, not really a time element. We hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for asking. How may we serve further? Mhm.
So I have a question.
Lynette, yes.
Yes, could you expand on the witness state? I'm a little vague on exactly what
Okay.
it means.
This, thank you. Being a witness is a little bit different from being the participant inside ourselves. When we're in a participation state, whatever arises, we just act on that. That's, you know, that's, we want a cup of coffee, we get up, make the coffee, we have it. That's participation. Witness is when you go, part of me wants a cup of coffee. Is that the best thing for me right now? That's what witness is. Witness is becoming conscious of what you're doing. And you know, if coffee's not a good thing for your particular body, it's a good idea to witness that particular desire that floats to the surface and make a conscious decision about it. Like, okay, I'm going to do it now, even though there are going to be consequences. That's a conscious decision. It may not be the highest, best decision for you in that moment, but it's the decision. So this is what witness is. Witness is when you engage what arises in yourself and you step back and you make a conscious decision. And over time, we want the majority of our conscious decisions to be in our highest, best interests. And when we cultivate the witness state in every moment of our waking life, then we're living a conscious life. It may not change our behavior at all. We may still do the same things, but we'll do them with a feeling of complete responsibility, of complete participation. But the more likely thing is that as we cultivate this witness state, we begin to make different decisions because we're saying to ourselves, is this in my highest best interests and the highest best interests of the whole? To every desire that arises in us, to every feeling, to everything that we notice, is this mine? Do I really need to engage this? Can I just drop it? This is what the witness state allows us to consciously decide before we're up and running into something that's creating or taking us someplace that we never imagined that we would go. And we've kind of all had those experiences where we started in one place and then we suddenly ended up somewhere else and don't even know how we got there. And so the witness state is how we begin to participate in a more conscious way inside ourselves with ultimately everything that arises. We hope that answers your question. Is there more?
No.
Okay. We're just so happy to be here today. How may we serve further? So there's karma that will be delivered. This is usually the stuff that we don't want to happen. And it doesn't mean when things happen that we don't want to happen, it doesn't mean that we did something wrong. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that something happened that we weren't expecting, that is not the nicest thing that we wanted to happen. But for whatever reason, it's there for us to deal with. And so we can only take that in, do our best with it, and then go, wow, that was interesting. Because it often doesn't make sense, and that's okay. you know, we have this idea that karma is simple cause and effect, and it may be, but it doesn't seem simple when we're lifetimes removed from the experience we've attracted. Then it feels like, you know, but the important thing is not to reject yourself because of some experience that happens that's really not what you wanted or expected, or, you know, these things just happen. And so it's not a commentary on how good or bad we are functioning as a human being when bad things happen. It's just what happens. So we take responsibility when we see that our actions have caused something not so great for somebody else. Then we take responsibility and we do our best to fix it. But when we have experiences that feel bad to us, that were unanticipated, that's not a reason to reject ourselves, ever. So we're all for self-acceptance in any circumstance. This is what all parts are welcome means. So it means that if you experience homicidal rage in yourself, you do not reject yourself. It doesn't mean you act on the homicidal rage. You still need to witness it, allow it to be present, take it to Ho'oponopono, take Ho'oponopono to it, and resolve it into harmony within yourself. But there is no reason to feel bad about yourself because that feeling was magnetized in you. We all have that. And since we all have the possibility, the potential of every frequency inside ourselves, since we have that, when something resonates and evokes something we weren't expecting, some feeling inside of ourselves that we weren't expecting, that we would very much like to not feel, that's the feeling you grab and say, welcome, all parts are welcome, because this has come to be resolved into the harmony of your understanding, into the harmony of the love, peace, joy, and gratitude, which is going to take you to that which is beyond. So all parts are welcome, even especially the really negative ones that we thought couldn't possibly exist in us. When they appear, grab them with everything you have and bring them into harmony. They are welcome, and they're what gives us access to deeper and deeper and wider, fuller, more full flow inside ourselves, because we welcome everything. Everything has come to be resolved into harmony. And that's our job, to welcome it. And then to share the results of our work with the entire field of our being.
It's 17 after, and we do have one more question if you want.
Go ahead, we'll take it.
How is karma more than cause and effect?
Well, it's not exactly that karma is more than cause and effect, but it's not always obvious what the cause is. The effect is what we're usually presented with. And so the idea is that no matter what happens, we don't reject ourselves. And we don't get too complicated about why this happened, because very often that why is unanswerable. And so we can that's when we say, okay, that must just be karma. but we don't use the events that happen in our lives to reject ourselves, to judge ourselves as less than because something happened that we didn't anticipate, that we would rather have not happened to us or around us. All parts are welcome. We hope this answers your question. Let's move into our meditation. And we're going to keep our eyes open for this meditation, and how you participate is completely up to you. You can experience our energetic presence in whatever way you care to participate. We're so grateful to be with you. We're going to just advise you to meditate by taking your attention inside, using the mantra, I am in perfect union, and moving that energy through your being at whatever pace works for you. So we'll do a silent meditation, and we'll each do our own inner practice. When you're ready, gently bring yourself back. We are so grateful to be with you. So honored and so happy. Thank you so much. Till next week.
Thank you.
Happy holidays. Especially happy solstice.